That argument may require exactly what Steve Bannon is suggesting, which is if China is getting more powerful, and we're not going to keep them from getting more powerful as a practical matter, now is the time to get the rules set in place so that we are not being unfairly disadvantaged. And there are others besides Mr. Bannon who do believe that China has some trade policy in place that disadvantage Americans going to do business there.
Look, in Australia, we've had bucket loads of trade disputes with China over the years, and with investment disputes. And also, we're considerably smaller than China, unlike the United States. And so we actually depend on rules of the game to make this work. My only caution to the government of the United States would be this: use the rules. Use the rules of the World Trade Organization. Use the disputes mechanisms which are set up under the WTO. Use your bilateral trade dispute resolution mechanisms, because those can be prosecuted, they can be dealt with, and they can be brought to conclusion. If you just walk away from that and de facto end up declaring a trade war, God knows where that ends, including hurting American interests as well.
So as you look at those two alternatives, where does something like a Section 301 proceeding involving intellectual property from China fall? Where does a Section 232 involving steel fit? Is that in the former category or the latter? Is that using the rules and using the WTO, or is that going
It's using bilateral mechanisms, or should I say it's using national mechanisms. But here is the word of caution. If the US finds, for example, on the IPO matter under 312, that the Chinese are not acting in a manner consistent with what is in US interest as defined by that particular set of arrangements, the Chinese would, in response, use probably WTO mechanisms to challenge the US conclusion. And here, I think, is a danger not just for the US, but for the global trading order. If that happens, and let's just say a WTO dispute resolution mechanism says, OK, we've looked at this and we think the Chinese have a case, and that the US, as it were, retaliatory action is way over the top compared with the substance of the Chinese violation. That's a possibility. If that happens and the US then ignores a WTO ruling, once you do that, the founder of the GATT, the founder of the WTO, the United States of America, if you start operating totally outside the WTO mechanisms, you destroy global trade law. And that has untold consequences across the entire global trading system. Remember, the GATT back in 1944, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, was a US baby. The WTO is a US baby. And so you can't just walk away from it unless you know that you're prepared to live with the consequences of tearing it into small pieces.